as volunteers to deliver as many supplies as we can until the real fight starts.
We could feel the war immediately on that bridge.
I have never used guns before.
That arch represented the friendship between Russian and Ukrainian people. This friendship is fully destroyed now.
We have food, water, guns, and huge desire to win.
There's only one thing all of us want: to come back home and restore it.
This is my first time to Kharkiv. It's an early morning. I'm coming with a lot of humanitarian aid, medical, foods, some specific supplies for civilians and hospitals. I don't feel 100% confident because this is one of the most dangerous cities right now in Ukraine. The city has been shelled and bombed by Russian militaries. It was an intense fight within, nearby the city. And now Russian army prepares for the second wave of attack. Our mission as volunteers is to deliver as many supplies as we can until the real fight starts. Kharkiv is situated right on the border with Russia, so it's the nearest border from Moscow. And after their first attempt to capture Kyiv failed, they will try to capture Kharkiv and then come to Kyiv. I got a friend who is volunteering in Kharkiv right now, and he reports every day. He tells me whether the situation is okay, whether it's not. And yesterday it was okay, but not like 100% safe. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll see him in a couple of hours, and we'll try to deliver as much as possible. Before the war, I was working in the esports industry. We were organizing events, we were organizing tournaments, we were opening and managing esports arenas all around the country. It was all about pure fun and entertainment. Yet after Russia invaded our country, I had to pause my job, I had to close all the locations and stop all the events to help people who are in need. So I even had to swap my Audi car for a cargo van so I could drop more useful cargo for that.
My wife and kids, they're still in Ukraine. We have a very safe place. I was frank and honest, and I told her that I'm not leaving anywhere because it's my country, and I cannot imagine myself, moving around the world until the end of my life and telling about the country which does not exist anymore. So, and she totally agreed with me. She said, yeah, I'm staying as well. I'm going to stay in a safe place with kids. But I decided to volunteer. I couldn't stay there, sitting there and just watching the events coming. We were not fighting, but we had a big argument. She wanted me to be with them. I'm a bit upset that she didn't support my initiative. I don't think that I could forgive myself if I would just sit and watch all the events coming, So, yeah, it was the most stressful night for me, the night before my trip to Kharkiv. Most of the people I talked to, they didn't know how to get to Kharkiv. People in Kharkiv, they didn't know how to get out. I was double checking all my things. I got my banana bag with me. I realized that I'm really nervous. I felt secure at the very moment when we unloaded the truck. She knows 90% of all the equipment coming, We got lots of diapers. We got more diapers than the entire European Union right now. All the supply chains are being destroyed by Russian army at this current moment. And there is a real threat of being attacked if you just have some vegetables for Ukrainian people in your warehouse. You see smiling people, but they tell you, no, don't film here. It's a real danger for us. You talk to the volunteers and they tell you that out of 50 people, 10 are already dead. If we lose Kharkiv, the entire Ukraine may be captured by Russian forces. It's extremely crucial to support Kharkiv, our military forces who are staying there, and volunteers who are staying in Kharkiv. Because if they lose hope, it might be a huge risk for entire country. I've been to Kharkiv a month prior to the start of the war, and I wanted to start our business there. There were millions of people. There was huge activity. I visited Kharkiv a couple of days ago. It was a completely different feeling. Overall feeling of the city is like from zombie movies, Most of the population of the city, they have left to another safe places. People who stayed, they are simply afraid to move around. There is a very big shortage of gas in Kharkiv. There are no shops, there are no grocery stores, there are no restaurants. The people who stayed, it seems like they got used to the fact that they're going to be killed. That house was primarily built for militaries, for the army men and their families. I doubt there was a random chance of hitting the building. They broke that city council building. They broke that university. They broke that building that housed military families. They knew what they were doing. This is a declaration of real war. It's not a Russian-Ukrainian conflict. It's not about some specific territories. It's not about Russian language or Ukrainian language or whatever. It's not an economical crisis. It's a complete war. And the only feeling I got was anger and the desire of revenge. Most of the volunteers, they had their own vests, which are pretty good. I was not allowed to use any lights while I was cooking. Russian militaries tried to navigate through the lighted buildings. If there is a house with a lot of lights turned on, they can attack that house. That was the first time I realized that we cannot turn on any light. We were cooking kimchi ramen. It was probably the most delicious food I had throughout the period. There was a long-awaited meeting of friends, and I got one special bottle of wine with me. When we had that ramen soup, I said, okay, let's get some wine. And the guys told me, no, first we got food, then we'll get some wine, because it's gonna be ruined if we have a good wine together with spicy food, They don't forget about simple pleasures. They don't forget about taste of life.
Подождите 10 минут. Ждешь 10 минут, подъезжает X5.
We had 1 hour of dinner. We opened a bottle of wine, and then we started working again. We were working until 2 a.m. I think. Finally, we had some sleep, but I cannot call it sleep, because we were bombed all the time. Constantly, boom, 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 and you wake up. The first task was to get the old lady out of her house. It was important because her house has been randomly attacked for several times. When we came to the address, first thing we saw was a damaged building. We even saw a huge hole right on the stairs. Her daughter called us, and she told that they need to move her to the other part of the city, to her apartment. The old lady couldn't move. She's too old, and she spends all the time in bed. And all the elevators, they didn't work. So we had to take the stairs. We had to make an improvised hammock. We loaded her to ambulance, and then we drove her out to the next place. Her daughter wanted to save her. All the volunteers who stayed there, they are real heroes for me.
Still.
It's morning in Kyiv today. Quiet morning. About less than 2 weeks ago, we could hear the explosions. Our enemies were about 20 kilometers from this point, in that direction. Across the street, you can see our temporary shelter. This is a billiard club. My day starts about 4 in the morning. Every day, we're taking turns and stay in our security room and watch for visitors, for unwanted visitors. We managed to get some guns. This is a rubber one, and this is only good for stopping one person. In case there's a serious danger, we have an automatic one here. This is AK-47. I have never used guns before, but if necessary, I will not hesitate to do so. This is our room, and there are also a few more rooms when 5 families live all together, and we're in the basement of the billiard club. We could hear the silence in the basement. First 3 or 4 weeks, we had them about 6, 7, 8 times per night. We're trying to stay closer to the walls as we were instructed. We have this billiard table, but we don't get to play billiard. We don't have time. At first, we thought about leaving. Even I was thinking to taking my family closer to the border and returning myself. The son was staying with us when this war has happened. We sent him out from Ukraine on March the 8th. My middle daughter to Warsaw, Poland. From there, my friends took them overseas to United States, where my oldest daughter studies in so-called business college. My wife decided to stay with me. I have started working for my company, which is Kyiv in Ukraine, on the 23rd of September 2020 as a facility manager. But suddenly plans got changed and we stopped our operations. The first 2 weeks after the war has started, our company paid me a salary in advance up till April of this year. So I'm still covered with that money. Some leftovers of the uniforms. The worst part in the scene was not only damages, but the smell. You could burn stuff that is laying around there. We could feel the war immediately being there on that bridge. It was first time since I have seen this bridge in a while. Last time I've seen it when we were traveling with my family about 3.5 years ago. Cars still can go there, but very careful because the road is tilted right now. Crossing the bridge was quite an experience because it was so unsafe, and for me as a driver, kind of was scary to do that. This is Bucha. Bucha is a small suburb, a town near Kyiv. Bucha used to be a very attractive place for family with children. They have such a beautiful neighborhood, new housing. And now, while we're driving along the streets of the city, we could hear the silence. There were no people in the streets, and only military vehicles were crossing the city. Looks like in horror movies. Many people were killed. There are still bodies left in some of the basements. After that visit, I had a very bad headache, and I could only help me with medicine, which I don't usually take.
Мы уже идем на выход. Хорошо погуляли.
I still remember pictures from Bucha when it was a peaceful time, when we visited the park with children and played in that park, and it was really great experience. So it was the opposite from happiness. It was just almost a fear. It was a horrible feeling inside to see what happened to the city after this invasion.
It's morning and it's snowy outside. Suddenly temperature dropped and now we have snowflakes flying in the sky. This window is protected with a tape. We put this additional protection to prevent glazing from falling into pieces and injuring people here. Here we have a kitchen where we cook daily 250 meals for military and police.
I have never ate in my life such a good food, frankly. When I was going to work, I was just taking a few sandwiches alone. But now I have regular meals, which makes me feel first strong and happy, and second, increases my body weight, unfortunately.
Let's take a look in the refrigerators and see what's in there. Here we have even more of refrigerators. Green beans. Hey, look at these squid rings. We will definitely survive in this kitchen. Смачного.
Дякую.
Щасливо. This is the main road out of Kyiv to the airport, and it's all blocked. As you can see, we have to perform slalom once in a while. These are my friends who are doing territorial defense, and they're preventing the enemy entering Kyiv. They are some distance away and on the outskirts of Kyiv. I cannot tell exactly where because this is for the security reasons. But my friends are dealing with real enemies, and they had to fight even once. Two guys were injured, and but they got them away.
We have food, water, guns, and huge desire to win. Поэтому, ну, это, собственно, вот чем мы занимаемся здесь. То есть, когда мы сюда попали, ситуация была очень угрожающая. Вот, и мы посмотрели, что ночью мы не можем с ними нормально противодействовать. Понятно, что и потребность там в тепловизионных прицелах, в дронах, она очень большая. И сейчас в основном сначала направляли в те части, которые воюют, там, где очень острая ситуация.
Our friends from territorial defense. They're lacking some of the equipment, and I'm looking right now for opportunities to buy it and arrange with my friends to buy those for us and ship it. So when I have some spare time, I also coordinate this logistics from United States and Europe over to Ukraine.
Не, ну что, типа, я не знаю, как бы во Львове, типа, снова обстрелы, короче, их всех выняли из поезда, все пошли в бомбы, она закончилась. Потом, когда они уже выходили, снова началась, их вернули назад. В общем, поезд задерживается на 2 часа. Ну да, в 21:30, и пока их там расфильтруют на вокзале, то все сюда приедут просто умученные в 11 часов ночи, будут стоять на улице.
Оставались на вокзале. На вокзале.
А их не будут пускать на вокзальный чат. Мне нам же говорили, что типа с 10, если 10 никто не сел, то их всех отправляют сюда. I'm from Kyiv, Ukraine. Right now I live in Norway with my boyfriend. I'm a photographer and videographer by occupation. When Russia occupied Ukraine on 24th of February, I was in Oslo. It was a pretty big shock. I was trying to help there as much as I could. We collected a lot of humanitarian aid. But after a week, I realized that I wasn't feeling good by staying far away. I felt like I really needed to do something on the spot and help people and see that I'm helping them. At that moment, my mom was already here volunteering, and she told me that she needs a lot of help. And I flew down. I still have family in Ukraine. My aunt, my cousin, and my grandma, they're staying in Zhytomyr, which is 130 kilometers away from Kyiv. Right now, I'm volunteering at a refugee center in Przemysl. The number of people passing through here actually went a bit down, but it's mostly related to the fact that evacuation from really heavily hit cities have been so difficult because Russians have been attacking humanitarian convoys and, civilian cars who were trying to get out. We do get a bit less people right now, but it's people who spent last 2-3 weeks of their life in a basement without running water, electricity, or food.
Sorry.
The owner of a big shopping mall gave the shopping mall for our needs. So it's basically an empty supermarket where we're trying to accommodate people and give them a place to stay for at least 1 or 2 nights. It's very important to understand that it's a constant flow of people coming through the border. So we have people arriving anytime, day and night, from 2 a.m. in the morning to 11 p.m. in the evening. If you're a Ukrainian fleeing the war and you don't come in a personal vehicle or by bus, you probably cross the border by foot. Once you cross the border, you're being directed towards a bus, either a police bus or a firefighter's bus or a private company bus, which takes you to the refugee center. when you're running around, it's kind of okay, but then you come back to your hotel bed at, at midnight, and you sit down and you realize that all these thousands of people who pass through you today, all of their lives are basically destroyed. Me and my boyfriend, we were trying for a baby for 2 months, and I was hoping to get pregnant and have a kid this year. When the invasion happened, I have been, 3 weeks pregnant, and I had a miscarriage. I don't know when will I be ready to start trying for a baby again, with all the things I'm going through.
Девочки, я извиняюсь. Надо на Люблин надо.
А вы зарегистрировались?
Еще нет.
Зарегистрировались. И что вы вам сказали в информации?
Мы переночевали. А теперь нам надо туда поехать.
Вот.
И причем там у меня дочка на гемодиализе, должна подъехать. Мы там попробуйте спасти, я не знаю.
There's Polish and Ukrainian volunteers taking your information, where are you from, what is your name, what is your passport number, where are you trying to go.
Так. СМС-ка пришла.
Once we filled all this information, we give people a wristband with a number in order to protect them in the coming hours. So once they got their wristband, they can come into the territory, the refugee center itself, which is protected by the guards. And then once the transportation has arrived, you're being notified by the volunteers. You come over towards the exit, and it's very important that the driver is also registered. All his documentation is being taken. He also gets a wristband. And then when people are leaving the center, we cross-check the driver with the amount of people he's taken. So we're trying to protect people as much as we can. I'm really worried for both my family and friends. If the war is not over soon, in a week or two, they might be sent to the front lines to fight.
Доброго дня. Гаряча вода вже є? Не знаєте?
Now, only thing I have left inside of me is anger. I don't want to be feeling all that hate towards Russia and Russian people, but I feel that right now it's hate that actually keeps me going. Nobody's making plans anymore. Every person who goes through me, in the refugee center, they all say one thing. I want to go somewhere where I can work because I need to make money. Because we want to go back home and we need to rebuild our country. Every single one of them wants to come back. So there's no more space for personal plans. There's no space for vacation ideas or which smartphone to buy. There's only one thing all of us want, and that to come back home and restore it.
Typowo umówionym, czyli wiedziałem, że będę wiózł rodzinę, 2 kobiety z dziećmi, które jechały tutaj do Polski, do kogoś, kto tu już był. Były umówione w konkretnym miejscu w Lwowie w niedzielę rano, żeby mnie zabrał. W tym samym momencie też była umówiona jeszcze pojedyncza dziewczyna.
Но очень не хотелось, потому что когда любимый человек дома, когда родители дома, когда ну все свое, все родное. Ну, стало очень страшно. Останньою каплею було те, що у нас десь щось взірвалося. Когда это немножко далеко, это слышно, это страшно, но когда это уже в твоем городе происходит, и на самом деле дети слышат эту воздушную тревогу, они уже сами просто трясутся, прячутся. Сначала мы ехали поездом, 24 часа до Львова мы ехали. Ну, честно сказать, в поезде было ехать жутко. Под час ночи, а у тебя ты подрываешься от того, что воют сирены. Вообще, верим, мы когда как можно быстрее это все закончится, мы очень хотим домой. Мы, наверное, никогда так не хотели, как сейчас можно. Спасибо. И Петра большое спасибо. О, Петр, это молодец.
I'm 22 years old. I'm from Paris. I'm like a volunteer medic. There are many ways to help, and I just found my way to help by going there. So it's important that every unit has enough medics, because on the front line, it's all medics from all battalions that act first. I would say the hardest when we're in Kyiv is to fall asleep. You sleep with bombing around you. I've been there for exactly a month now. I have my flight to Paris. I need to get the operation on my feet, and I will come back in Ukraine in like 2-3 weeks. With, of course, a lot of equipment and things that are needed in Kyiv.
Potem była taka ciekawa przygoda, historia, że był Kamil, który czekał na mnie i po prostu ktoś przyjechał. Mam dostarczyć psa, podał transporter i 2 torby. Dziękuję, do widzenia, i odjechał. I w zasadzie też oczywiście wczoraj dostarczony, ludzie bardzo zadowoleni. I w momencie, kiedy rozpoczęła się wojna w Ukrainie, po kilku dniach doszedłem do wniosku, że ja muszę zacząć jeździć i pomagać ludziom. Czyli jeździłem tak naprawdę do momentu, aż już poczułem się zmęczony, że już nie dam rady dłużej. I 8 dnia wróciłem. Ja w ogóle jeżdżę za free, tak?
Naturalne, że to mi jest trochę...
Nie, nagrywamy to, tak? Ja jeżdżę za free, bo
Tu jest, kurwa...
przysięgam, wstyd mi byłoby prosić ludzi o kasę. Nie wiem, no nic mi nie dawało chyba w życiu takiej satysfakcji, jak daje mi to.
So I'm in the cafe, but if I go out, you can hear the sirens. But here inside, it's almost like quiet. The first impression was totally awful. It scares you inside out. But I can now see that people got used to it, and we are spending time in coffee shops, in restaurants. After the war ends, I will try to rebuild the cities and provide as much living spaces for the people who suffered from the war actions. I thought about this idea while traveling across the country because I saw traffic jams 300 kilometers long. I counted more than 500,000 people there, 500,000 people standing on the road for 20 hours in a row. I know personally that there are more than 150,000 people which don't have shelter at all. So they literally have to sleep on the street. And we found a number of solutions which might be used as temporary shelters, starting from, fast unfolding mattresses and beds. So it's going to be like, $150 to $200 for one person to get some very good place to live, which is not as expensive. No, I don't think that $200 is too expensive to save someone's life.
Через 300 метрів скористайтесь двома лівими смугами для подальшого руху лівіше до проспекту Миру. Потім продовжуйте рух прямо.
I'm in the downtown of Kyiv. This is windy today. Behind me is a monument which is covered with sandbags to protect it against destruction. Behind me is one of the oldest buildings in Kyiv. This is St. Sophia Cathedral.
Our city actually is much better protected than the other cities in Ukraine. The military did a very good job having mostly missiles hit before they reached our city. I can remember all those places while they were in a good shape. It's a heart-squeezing thing. My tears were very close when I saw the damages of the city.
From here, from the hills of Kyiv, we can see the arch just in front of us. That arch represented some years ago the friendship between Russian and Ukrainian people. This friendship is fully destroyed now, and I suppose we should take that arch down. Now we're heading home to see our pets, 2 cats and a dog.
Many times when we were traveling back home to feed our pets, we heard sirens many times. So we were rushed back either to our basement, hiding place, or back to home just to be on the safe side.
Here's our small tiger. Frey wants to go out already. He is ready. We only go twice a day to feed our animals and walk the dog. Just in front of us, behind the kindergarten, is that building which was hit by the missile. All 4 floors on the top are demolished. This is the kindergarten where all 3 of our children attended when they were young.
I have feeling of missing my children. I have 3 of them. They're in a safe place right now, far away from here. And all 3 of our children are right now in the United States. Well, I don't know how soon will I see my children. Me and my wife, we are missing them very much. I know that we'll be together sometime, hopefully soon. I have a feeling of hope for future of our family, our country.
As a nation, as a people, I thought we were kind of selfish a bit. But in real life, in real situation, I noticed that all of us practically are willing to support the neighbor, to share whatever we have.
We want to rebuild this town. We want to rebuild all damaged and demolished cities and towns and villages in Ukraine. And we want to live a happy and free life. We will win, I know that. Slava Ukraini!